So TIT Jam is a week-long breast cancer fundraising effort that takes place the last week of every July for the last 6 years. TIT Jam can be summed up in 3 words. It's camp, community, and cleanse. We're camping. It's completely community-driven, and the cleansing aspect is to create a space where it's safe to be vulnerable and open up about our biggest fears, struggles we're having in life, and how parkour is the tool that we use to strengthen ourselves.
JUMPfest is a multi-day event that combines TED Talk style lectures with parkour workshops and training.
When we can find a way to operate from the why, then the how and the what sort of just fall into place.
Come with us behind the scenes as we show you what it takes to put together TIT Jam 2016.
Alright, so welcome to day 3 of the keynote lectures portion of JUMPfest. Probably won't cry today, so.
I take offense to that.
I might cry. His looks, that beard alone. I haven't shaved in 26 years, so that's all I got. Years down the road, when he comes out with the inner mastery and he's starting to share this knowledge, I was like, man, I cannot wait to get to witness and be a part of what his journey was like. So, without further ado, let's take a look into the mind of Dylan Baker.
And I see this with certain athletes where if they get the mentality early on enough, it's just this thing that just catapults them forward. And meanwhile, I've seen a lot of people that don't get that and don't work on their mentality, and they'll train 9, 10 years, and I still see them kind of walking around on an handrail like, oh, crap, like, whew, whew. All right. Like, and if you don't focus on this as a skill, I'm telling you right now that you will be far less better off. Like, you will be much better off if you focus on this as a skill. Not as a thing that's just like, oh, you know, mentality is important. But like, how can I train my brain to be something that will commit to a challenge when I'm ready? Parkour is a reflection of life, right? And it's not an escape from life for me. And I've seen some people that view it as kind of an escape. It's kind of like, oh, well, you know, yeah, I have my job and I have this other stuff that I do, and life is kind of shitty, so I do parkour to kind of take my mind off of it. And to me, parkour is a way for me to train my mind and my body to be more effective in life, okay? And so I try to think about this as like, this is an ideal to strive for, something that I want to get to, and it's something that I feel I've gotten very close to doing. So I don't think that it's out of reach. I think maybe it might be one of those things where you just keep inching forward and there might just be a little bit of fear, you know, in front of you, but I think it's worth striving for.
Okay, so we are downtown today. Backflips for Bucks is full on. Any clothing that you have that's representative of who we are and what's going on, go for it. Try and stay in big groups. When we get downtown, you guys have sort of free reign of the whole neighborhood down there. There's lots of really incredible architecture, there's really incredible structures, there's super good food. Just remember that you represent us everywhere you go. So,
How old are you?
I'm 23 years old.
All right, you guys know the drill. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you.
Wednesday, we go downtown. Downtown is like one of my most favorite spots. I grew up down here, Palmer, high school, whatever. So Acacia Park is like, kind of, grew up over there. And it was my very first exposure ever to TIT Jam was a year that I wasn't involved. And I got to see everybody training at that park. And so that footage was like, whoa, mind-boggling. But it's sort of this catch-22 because it's like our favorite spot, but it's also like we spent the majority of the training day sitting inside of Starbucks, crazy hot, crazy caffeine consumption, putting together all the details of the comp. So breakfast is on site 7 to 8, and then the volunteers that signed up for setup will be at campus. And
the volunteer should be in my car.
Yes. So we'll do setup at 7 at the same time as everyone's eating breakfast.
So then last year, I think what added time was I was basically like interviewing every single athlete.
Right.
So I guess what I'll do this time is because I have the list in advance, I can write on my list, I can write a cue as to like what to talk about while they're
Comp will start at 9, 60-second rounds, 50 60-second rounds. And as soon as they make it to the other side, next round is up. So then 10:30 to 11, course transition. Then we go from speed to tech. Group 1, which is like half of those people, will be 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. and they'll just go back to back. It's gonna be long for you, especially if there's commentary involved, but then we just do like, you either finish or you don't. And then we do course transition 2:45, 3:15. Group 1 starts 3:30 to 3:45, and we go all the way through with group 15 ending going from 7 to 7:15. And we'll do tear down and cleanup 7:30 to 8:30, and hopefully everybody will be in the car on the way home by 9. The only way that this is gonna work is if we're like extraordinarily organized. But the other thing I think we really need to do is include in the itinerary exactly where and when we're gonna push via the mic what's happening. So remember last year, every couple of rounds or so, we have to have the conversation of like, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and then talk about Back to the Bucks as a group. But I wanna make sure that we have that pre-designed. That's the only thing that's gonna throw off the schedule is if it rains, we're obviously not gonna have people competing in the rain. So we'll have to kind of wait it out a little bit, which could prolong. But the good news is we have planned plenty of time.
I feel comfortable getting on the mic and explain the Back to the Bucks.
Absolutely.
Okay, because then that gives me time to sit down and eat, and then you can bring up the whiteboard with like the thermometer drawing.
Yep.
Say, hey, this is what we've raised so far.
Done.
Like maybe every hour.
When this many people are involved, it's like we can't afford to kind of spend all of our time hanging out with everybody because there's so many details, that have to be worked out and have to be put in place so that, everyone really can actually have the experience that they're hoping for here. It's like awesome and feels, we get to feel really accomplished when everything's done, but it's also really sort of disheartening, like showing up and everyone being like, where have you been all day?
They hearing the sound right, folks. Stuck in the season, it's downright cold. Living in frigid and digits keep dipping. Tricked in the distance, bit of good riddance. Deuces to Judas and boom clots. Loosen the nooses and boom voyage. Young gunner, let the tongue flutter. Open up the sun shutters, uncover bright white lights. Big city gritty, stuck in the middle, split 50-50.
For me, if I find myself in an anxious state, the first thing I'm gonna go to is these negative emotions, right? Where I'm gonna start to get a little bit more focused. I'm gonna get a little bit more aggressive. I'm gonna change my breathing a little bit. Like if I'm anxious, I might have shallow breathing, right? And I might have that open kind of facial expression. I might get a little bit more narrow. I might get a little bit more aggressive. I might start doing maybe some more power moves. Just get my body in it, get some testosterone going, right? That's kind of my first step. Right? But then I need to get that positivity. And what I was talking about there is just a lot of times it's just smiling. Sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do. Just do something that's fun. Get a little smile going. Even if it's fake for now, it will turn real. And that's one element. And obviously where the energy is moving, listen to some music. What makes you excited? What makes you passionate? And then figure out what those little cues are. Is it something you do with your arms? Is it something the way that you hold yourself? Is it a way that you move your face? Is it something you think about? right? What's going through your head as you're doing it. It's all these little ingredients that you piece together, and it's innate to you, right? And that's an ingredient that I would put on that list, and if I can tap into that, then boom, I'm in that positive state.
I would say my overall impression of the Jam right now is it's like both extremes, right? So it's like the most stressful, chaotic 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 days of my life. Like it's of my whole year, you know, it's so chaotic, but it's also the most loving, rewarding, satisfying thing that happens, you know? And this year it's like, there's a combination here of being a well-oiled machine, but also there's something else keeping this going. There's this sort of grand design thing in place. Like there's, you know, Murphy's Law allows that if it's gonna go wrong, right? Like if it could go wrong, it will, and it absolutely has. Every single day there's been some sort of catastrophic event, but the grand design element that comes in is that for every catastrophe, the solution was actually better than what existed before something fell apart. And that's not an accident, right? Like you can't have this many people here for this cause and that just kind of happened like coincidence.
You know, I think that there is, like Dylan was saying, there's this idea that that the best athletes in the world are making it, that they're really making it, and that you can aspire to this high level. And it's like, you know, Dylan works like, you know, 30 hours a week doing an online consulting job, you know, like I am working on my book and stuff, but like the only reason I'm able to live the way I am is because I lived with my parents for 6 years more than most people do. And I was able to just save up money. Like I never had a car, like I just took public transportation everywhere. And, you know, like there were sacrifices there. And then now it's like still, you know, trying to constantly like teach and hustle to like get any kind of teaching or workshop gig or anything that I can, you know, like spending a bunch of hours writing a book that I'm gonna ultimately release for donation-based download is like, you know, also something where it's like, well, who knows if the community is gonna respond well to this? Like, they're poor and I might end up putting in 1,000 hours of research and writing into something that will make me less than $1,000, you know? And I know Dylan's in the same boat, like with his Inner Mastery seminar. When I was visiting him in February and April, he literally spent 75 hours a week, I would say, like writing and planning his seminar. And then people were like, oh, I'm not gonna pay $70 online to get that. And people have this idea that it's like, oh yeah, you know, these guys are making it. And it's like, unless you're out in Hollywood doing stunts on movies, you're not making it, you know? Like I could be doing a math job. Like I have a degree in math. If I wanted to, I could go and get like a 90 grand entry-level job as like an actuary. I don't want to do that, that's my choice. I know Dylan is the same way. Like he could probably get an online marketing job full-time where he'd be making, you know, 80, 90 grand. KO's been giving me a monthly stipend to write for them, which is, that kind of support from a company is something that I really see as being invaluable in the parkour community. And I know KO and a couple other brands are really dedicated to like just continuing that in the future. And that's another thing, right? A lot of people think parkour companies are making tons of bucks, and it's like, you know, I've seen Francis and Ann at KO, like they literally like put the labels on the shoes themselves and they fulfill all the orders themselves out of their house. Like, and I know Justin is understanding of that. Like he knows the struggle. I like know he's been there and he understands. So I think that that's another thing that, you know, kind of puts this event in a different light, is that he has gone through every aspect of the struggle that all of us have gone through. So he knows, and now he's kind of in a little bit more of a stable position in his life, and I know he's trying to create that space for people to grow in the sport and to be able to support themselves. You know, we all have talents, and we invest these talents in the community because we believe, at least I know I believe that, you know, I'm creating a structure where in the future it's going to be able to benefit kids like me that have this passion, and that they'll be able to make 80 or 90 grand off of it a year. And I think that we're all willing to struggle and go through that kind of struggling artist period to just create that world.
There's like this way that I live my life, right? And this way that I do business and do school and do the Jam, and it's like this golden circle, right? So if the outermost layer of the circle is the what, right? Like that's actually what's going on, where doing keynote speeches, we're training, we're eating, whatever. And then the second tier is the how, right? Like, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to get people from one location to the other? How is the food going to get made? And then the center circle is the why. The why, the magic, the like jumping out of your comfort zone. Like, that's the only reason that this exists or works, or like, that Justin and I put ourselves through this lack of sleep and food and dehydration, and like, when was the last time I took a shower? What am I wearing? And so it's like, when we can find a way to operate from the why, then the how and the what sort of just fall into place.